Okay, picture this for a second. You're starting out completely drowning in debt, facing just constant struggle, and feeling like you're stuck in quicksand. Now imagine breaking out of that entirely to build a business generating over $100 million a year. That is the exact trajectory of Alex Hormozi. And the secret to this massive leap, well, it wasn't just luck, and it definitely wasn't just grinding harder. It was mastering a specific, almost unfair advantage in business, the Grand Slam offer. So in this explainer, we're going to break down Hormozi's blueprint for crafting an offer so undeniably good, so heavily stacked with value that your customers will literally feel stupid saying no to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the roadmap for how we'll systematically deconstruct this blueprint. First, we'll look at the commodity problem. Second, finding a starving crowd. Third, the actual math behind all of this, the value equation. Fourth, the steps to building ultimate solutions. And finally, the elements of a perfect offer.
All right, part one, the commodity problem. Basically, why businesses stagnate.
Look, if your business isn't moving forward, it's dying. And that usually boils down to lacking one of two things, either clients or cash flow. Actually, sometimes you might even have clients, but you just can't squeeze a dime of profit out of the operation. This is exactly why you might feel like you're working 80-hour weeks, but making absolutely zero headway. So why do some businesses just skyrocket while others quietly disappear?
As this harsh reality emphasizes, there really is no safe middle ground. You are either growing or dying. And true sustainable growth, that only comes from three specific levers. First, you got to get more customers. Second, you have to increase their average purchase value, meaning, if they were spending $10, figure out how to get them to spend $50. And third, you need to get them to buy more times. You want to turn a one-off buyer into a monthly recurring customer. It sounds super simple, right? But it's incredibly difficult if you are trapped by what Hormozi calls the commodity problem.
Let's break down this commodity problem. Imagine two vendors selling identical oranges right next to each other. Because the product is the exact same, the customer is going to choose based purely on who has the cheapest price. It's a literal race to the bottom, shrinking your profits down to zero. So, how do we escape this? Well, you do it by selling an offer, not a commodity. Think about a hair salon. Everyone cuts hair, right? But what if a salon creates a Diwali free haircut offer where a new customer pays only for a premium beard trim or a massage, gets the haircut completely for free, and the whole thing is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee if they don't absolutely love it? Suddenly, they aren't competing on price anymore. They've completely differentiated themselves. That right there is a Grand Slam offer.
Moving right along to part two, finding a starving crowd, because you absolutely need the right market.
So there's this great story about a prominent marketing professor who once asked his students, if you were opening a hot dog or a vada pav stand, what is the single biggest advantage you could possibly ask for? The students, of course, guessed things like a better location, tastier food, or lower prices. The professor just smiled and said, no, you want a starving crowd. Think about a terrible office canteen. The food is awful, it's totally overpriced, and the service is painfully slow. Yet it's packed every single day. Why? Because the employees have zero other food options nearby. They are a starving crowd. Or imagine trying to sell a bottle of water for $10,000. In a major city, you'd sell exactly zero. But in a remote desert to a desperate traveler, they would gladly hand over the cash. A desperate market beats everything else, hands down. So the absolutely crucial point here is knowing how to spot this crowd, because this dictates whether your business is going to be an uphill struggle or an absolute breeze. There are four major indicators you've got to look for. 1. Massive pain. Think of someone with a desperate toothache who will pay literally any amount to find an open hospital at 2 a.m. 2. Purchasing power. Even if someone desperately needs an umbrella in a rainstorm, if their pockets are completely empty, they can't be your customer. 3. Easy to target. You need to be able to actually find and reach these people without jumping through a million hoops. And 4, this is huge, a growing market. Hormozi shares this wild example of a brilliant entrepreneur who did everything perfectly, but still struggled because he was in the shrinking newspaper industry. As soon as he switched markets and started selling COVID masks during the pandemic, a rapidly, massively growing market, he became a millionaire almost instantly. So yeah, your market matters most.
All right, on to part three. This is the centerpiece, the value equation. This is how you mathematically create massive value.
Okay, here is the exact step-by-step formula for printing value. It has 4 core variables. The first 2 must be driven as high as humanly possible. The dream outcome, like are you actually helping them achieve their ultimate goal, say dropping from 100 kilos to 70 kilos, and then the perceived likelihood of achievement. How deeply does this customer actually believe your product will work for them?
Now on the flip side, we have variables that divide your value. So these must be decreased to near zero. Time delay. How long is it going to take until they see results? And effort and sacrifice. How hard is it for them to actually use your solution? Drive those top two up, drive those bottom two down, and your value just skyrockets.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how this equation plays out in the real world. Let's compare two totally different solutions for stress, meditation and the medication Xanax. Both of them aim for the exact same dream outcome, right? Reducing stress. But meditation, it has a pretty low initial belief from customers, it takes a really long time to master, and it requires intense effort and daily sacrifice. On the flip side, Xanax has a super high perceived likelihood, almost zero time delay, you literally just swallow it, and absolutely zero effort or sacrifice. Now, is meditation naturally healthier? Yes, for sure. But the pill is a multi-billion-dollar industry because it perfectly optimizes this value equation. It mathematically delivers way higher perceived value to the buyer.
Which brings us to part 4, steps to ultimate solutions. Let's talk about actually building your product. So how do you build this thing from scratch? How do you go from just a fuzzy idea to something tangible? First, identify their dream outcome. Let's stick with that example of losing 30 kilos in 6 months. Next, you gotta list every single problem standing in their way. Cooking healthy food is too expensive, they have zero time for the gym, diets taste like cardboard, whatever it is. Once you have that master list, you literally flip those problems into actionable how-to solutions. For example, how to create a healthy diet on a shoestring budget. Finally, you brainstorm how you're actually going to deliver that how-to. Is it going to be a recorded video series, a PDF workbook, or maybe a private one-on-one coaching call? Get every possible delivery method out of your head and onto paper. And that brings us to the absolutely crucial 5th step, trim and stack. You map all those brilliant delivery ideas onto a matrix comparing cost and value. Now remember, cost isn't just money. It's your time, it's your energy. So if you offer to personally drive to the grocery store, shop, and cook every single meal for your client, well, that's incredibly high value for them, sure, but it is a massive, unscalable high cost to you. The absolute secret to a highly scalable business? Hunting in that sweet spot. Solutions offering massive value to the client, but requiring extremely low cost and energy from you. You trim the unscalable stuff, stack all the winners together, and boom, there is your product. Finally, part 5, elements of a perfect offer. This is where we inject the grand slam elements.
To make saying no to you feel genuinely stupid, you need these 5 psychological elements working together in harmony. First, add scarcity by limiting the supply. Think of how incredibly fast a limited edition watch sells out. Pair that with urgency by putting a very strict time limit on when they can actually buy. Then, stack on the bonuses. People absolutely love getting more than they paid for. If you're selling a premium pen, throw in a beautiful high-end pen holder completely for free. Next, remove their risk entirely with an ironclad guarantee. If your product is truly valuable, backing it up should be a total breeze. And finally, give it a catchy name that instantly, magnetically attracts your specific starving crowd.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, absolutely vital question to ask yourself today. Take a real, close look at your current business model. Are you trapped selling a commodity, just fighting a miserable, losing war on price just to survive? Or are you ready to target a starving crowd, mathematically maximize that value equation, and build a grand slam offer that makes scaling to millions basically inevitable? The blueprint is literally in your hands right now. It's time to go out there and build an offer they simply can't refuse.